It had been a normal day in the bustling city of Demoko. Mr. Alison Nwankwo, a hard-working mechanic and widower, had taken his only daughter, Ada, to Rivers General Hospital. She had complained of a fever and dizziness, and as any father would, Alisa acted fast. The hospital was known for its modern facilities, but also for its long, bureaucratic processes. After several hours of waiting, a nurse led Ada to a special ward for observation while Alisa waited outside. Hours passed. When Alisa finally demanded to see his daughter, he was told she had been discharged. Confused and panicked, he argued that no one had informed him and that he had been in the waiting area all along. The nurse shrugged indifferently and offered no explanation. When Alisa tried to check the discharge records, they claimed no Ada Nwankwo had been admitted at all. That night, Alisa paced his cramped apartment in Diobu, staring at the hospital's admission slip still crumpled in his pocket. Something was off. Deep in his gut, a fear larger than he could understand gnawed at him. He had heard stories of things happening in hospitals, black market organ harvesting, secret cult rituals. He shook the thoughts away, but they clung to his mind like leeches. Alisa returned to the hospital the next morning, burning with rage. He demanded to see the hospital administrator. The man, Dr. Okoro, wore a fake smile that didn't reach his cold eyes. "Sir, maybe you're mistaken. Perhaps your daughter went home, and you didn't notice," he said calmly. The words stung Alisa like an insult. Determined, Alisa found a sympathetic cleaner who whispered about a mysterious Ward 13, an area staff avoided after dark. She hinted that people entered, but few came out. Ward 13 wasn't listed on any official map of the hospital. It was as if it didn't exist. That night, Alisa returned, sneaking past the sleepy security guards. He followed dim corridors until he found a rusty, unmarked door. Strange chants echoed from within. The air was thick with an unnatural cold. When he peered through the small glass window, what he saw made his blood run cold. People in red robes gathered around a stretcher, chanting over an unconscious girl who looked like Ada. Alisa stumbled backward, heart pounding. He ran, not caring who heard his heavy footsteps. For the first time, he realized he might be fighting something bigger and darker than just hospital bureaucracy. The next morning, Alisa tried to report his findings to the police. His complaints were met with laughter. "Are you now watching Nollywood films, Mr. Mechanic?" one officer joked. But behind the ridicule, Alisa saw fear in their eyes. They knew something, but wouldn't say. Frustrated, he visited a local herbalist, Mama Uduak, known for dealing with dark medicine. She confirmed his worst fear. Demoko General was rumored to be a gateway for the ODU Society, a secretive cult believed to have infiltrated high places, including hospitals and police stations. "They deal in blood and shadows, my son. If your daughter is within, the gods themselves may not be able to pull her out," Mama Aduak warned, giving him a small calabash filled with protective charms. Alisa returned home to find his apartment ransacked. Scrawled on the wall in red paint were the words, "Leave this alone." But instead of scaring him off, it fueled his anger. They had touched his home, threatened his bloodline. He swore to the gods of his ancestors that he would not stop until Ada was safe. Alisa spent nights watching the hospital from afar. He noticed that Ward 13 came alive at exactly 2 a.m. Trucks with no license plates came and left. Sometimes, faint screams broke the silence of the night. He befriended an intern nurse, Chika, who had seen too much and lived in fear. She confessed that she once saw a boy's corpse wheeled into Ward 13 only for the same boy to appear alive 2 days later, but his eyes were empty, his smile forced. There is a doctor they call Madame Kalu. She controls Ward 13. They say she doesn't sleep, and she reports to someone higher, someone you will never see, Chika whispered, trembling. The hospital was more than a place of healing. It was a temple of experiments and rituals. Alice's reality began to blur. Was he still in Nigeria, or some twisted nightmare? The more he dug, the more the city itself felt complicit, as though everyone had chosen to keep their eyes closed. Alice's plan to infiltrate Ward 13 was dangerous, but necessary. Disguised as a janitor, he slipped inside on a moonless night. The walls were lined with strange symbols. The patients inside were strapped to beds, their eyes wide, whispering strange hymns in languages Alissa didn't recognize. Suddenly, the robed figures surrounded him. Their faces were hidden behind carved wooden masks. One of them removed his mask, revealing the hospital's head of security, Mr. Imika. "You should have left when you had the chance, Mr. Nwankwo," Imika sneered. Alissa tried to fight but was quickly overpowered. They injected him with something cold and heavy. His vision blurred, and voices filled his ears, chanting, "Your body is weak, but your spirit will serve." As darkness swallowed him, Alissa realized this was no ordinary cult. They weren't just stealing organs, they were harvesting souls. Alissa awoke in a strange, foggy realm. The air smelled of decay and burnt flesh. He was no longer in Port Harcourt, or even the world he knew. Shadows with hollow eyes whispered his name. Among them, he saw Ada, but her face was twisted, confused. "Papa, why did you leave me?" she sobbed. Desperate, Alissa tried to touch her, but his hands passed through. A voice thundered around him, "You cannot save what you do not understand." It was Madame Kalu's voice, echoing from beyond. He understood now, the ODU Society wasn't just about power or wealth. They were gatekeepers between life and death, using hospitals as thin veils to trap wandering souls and bind them into eternal servitude. But Alissa was not ready to die yet. Summoning every ounce of strength, he shattered the calabash Mama Duak had given him. A bright light exploded, sending shockwaves through the dark realm. Alissa woke up in a ward, alone, disoriented. Days had passed. The hospital looked normal again, as if nothing had happened. Ada was nowhere in sight. He staggered home, only to find everything erased, his belongings, his name on the rental papers, his mechanic shop. It was as if Alissa Nwankwo had never existed. Neighbors looked at him like a madman. Even the police claimed they had never heard of him. His mind spiraled. Was it all a dream? Had he finally lost his grip on reality? At night, he heard Ada's voice calling from shadows, from mirrors, from his own reflection. His daughter was out there, but not in any world he understood. Years passed. Alissa became a ghost in his own city, wandering streets, warning strangers of Ward 13. Most laughed, others pitied him. He scribbled stories on walls, drew maps that led to invisible doors. But those who listened, those brave enough to look deep into the eyes of Rivers General at 2 a.m., sometimes reported seeing the shadow of a mechanic with a hollow face, walking the corridors. They say his whispers still fill Ward 13, guiding other lost souls, warning them not to make the same mistake. But no one ever finds Ada. And Alissa? He no longer cares if he is alive or dead. He only whispers in the dark, waiting.